For couples struggling to get pregnant, infertility treatments are one option, but they can be cost prohibitive. 1 in 6 couples suffers from infertility, and the numbers are set to be on the rise as more and more people delay childbearing for various reasons. So joining us this morning to discuss options, the cost, and how to pay for it all is Mindy Berkson. She is an infertility consultant who founded Lotus Blossom Consulting. Welcome.
Thank you, Sylvia.
Now, we should start off right off the bat and say, if you live in Illinois, you're lucky because we are one of the states that actually do help couples undergoing fertility treatments.
We do have insurance coverage that is mandated as long as you meet the mandates, the requirements of the mandates. So we are more fortunate than most
so that's
states.
a great place to start. Okay, but now let's talk about the cost, individual cost. So the average IVF treatment can range from $8,000 to $18,000. And then if you need an egg donor, average couple is going to spend an additional $12,000. And then if you need a surrogate, the couples could expect to add an additional $40,000 to $50,000. How do couples afford this? That's a lot of money.
It's a struggle. It's a struggle. There are some benefits from insurance, as we just discussed. Some fertility centers offer financing programs, and then there are some grant programs that are offered across the country. They're limited at best, as you can imagine, and of course you have to qualify. There's waiting times involved to see if you're the winning recipient of those grants.
And the thing we haven't even talked about yet is sometimes it takes more than one try in IVF treatment to get pregnant. So add that on, and we could be talking about tens of thousands, maybe even in some cases into the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Well, this is true, and that's why it is so important for clients and couples to quantify their financial budget at the very beginning and use that as a guideline to know when to change the course of treatment.
Okay, so let's talk about these options. Okay, the first option we're looking at is the health care plans. And tell us specific health care plans. They're going to cover portions of the treatment. How does that work?
At best, insurance coverage is limited. So many companies will offer a set number of tries at infertility, and others will offer a set dollar limit.
Okay. And then one of the points you have up there is to check before undergoing IVF so there are no surprises. What does that mean?
Well, just check what your coverage does cover. Some don't cover egg donors, some do cover egg donors, but it's nice to know if they cover egg donor, how many cycles are we going to use before we turn to an egg donor.
Okay. And then fertility centers, which is an option number 2, they actually may offer some financing themselves.
And this varies across the country. Every center has their own specific plan, programs available, so you should always check with your fertility center if it's an option.
So how do you shop for that? I mean, that's a lot of homework, isn't it?
Well, it is, and that's what I really help my clients to understand, what they can use to their best advantage all across the country when they're seeking resources to go through an IVF cycle. Okay,
and then option number 3 is applying for grants and other programs offered by patient advocacy groups, clinics, or private organizations. Give us an example.
There are some advocacy groups that offer financing programs, but you have to apply for them, and usually there's a waiting period involved, and of course there's only one lucky recipient, and so it's very difficult to put your hopes all in one basket when you're applying for these grants. So I always encourage clients to seek more than just one option when they're applying for grants.
So we have a couple at home watching today. They're lost and they know insurance is only going to cover so much. Where do you begin? What's your advice?
Well, my advice, start with, I have a complimentary ebook online, free download, and it really just outlines what questions to ask your insurance company, where to find financing resources, and it's a starting point with your company. Do they offer any sort of benefits, tax advantages, borrowing programs? So I think that's one of the best starting points.
What do you feel like if you say you've used up your insurance and you've used up a grant that you've got and you're still not pregnant, and then what, Mindy? What do you do after that?
Well, it's a real problem because there are very limited options if you're tapped out of finances. But, you know, I think that if you plan your options appropriately from the very beginning, and I emphasize maximizing success really helps, maximizing success for the treatment cycle really helps to minimize financial expenditure over time. And I think if you build the foundation properly from the very beginning,
that's going to make the biggest difference.
It does make a difference.
So really do your homework before so there's no surprises later, and you can think smart about how you're going to use the money that you have.
Yes, and plan on multiple cycles. And if you don't need them, great.
Yeah, that's a bonus, right?
Exactly.
Okay, Mindy Berkson, thank you so much for joining us today. And if you'd like a recap of our discussion today or to connect with Resolve, the National Infertility Association, you can go to our website, abc7chicago.com, that is, and you're going to find links when you click see it on TV.